talk upholstered benches. They are a fantastic solution for extra seating, being flexible in a small space. You can use them as a coffee table. You can put them on the other side of the coffee table facing your sofa. You can push them up against a wall, put them in front of a fireplace. They are fantastic solutions. A whole little family could fit on this for the holidays, or a couple at a party. It's a great idea. So what we are going to do today is, this is a bench that was provided to me by one of my clients in just this condition. It's an MDF box. It is reinforced inside. It was built to be a bench. It has legs attached. It had fabric on it at one point, but it came to me strictly as a box with legs attached. So we are going to take it from there. Now you could do this exact same process with a coffee table that had interesting legs. Any kind of narrow piece of wooden furniture you could upholster in this same way. We're going to start, now I'm using 1-inch foam, because if you've watched any of my other videos, you know foam is one of the most expensive supplies. I happen to have a 60% off Joann's coupon, so I actually went out last night between 6 and 9 p.m. in order to get this. And the 1-inch was significantly less expensive than the 2-inch. And once you wrap it in Dacron, it's not going to matter. So I use a spray adhesive just to tack the fabric down, the foam down. Now you can see that I've actually pieced in right here because it came in pre-rolled lengths of 2.5 feet. And it doesn't matter, that's on my lower level. I'm putting a second level on top. Always read your adhesives and make sure that they are foam friendly, because this is a completely synthetic material and some glues will literally just eat right through it. It's like hot gluing styrofoam. You can't do it. So make sure that it is appropriate to use on foam. You don't even need to wait for that to dry. So the next thing I'm going to do is bring in some Dacron to wrap this, and we're going to tuck that underneath before we ever get started with fabric. So this is the Dacron spread on here smoothly. I got a twin size batting and have it tripled up here because it's so thin, to cover the sides of the box, because we didn't put any foam there. I want it to be soft when you touch it. Then we are going to staple that. We want it as out of the way as possible, and we don't want to pull at this point and get too many wrinkles. We don't want to make it too tight. The only tricky part we have to worry about is the corner, because these legs are right on the corner. So we want to make it tuck in there as tightly as possible so that the fabric finishes nicely under there. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to wrap it like a present. And when I'm all finished, I'm going to cut away the extra. So we've got it on the corner. I am going to trim it right along the edge of this. But now I'm going to wrap it around and bring this down. Now you can see that now I'm going to have 9 layers there. I don't want 9 layers. So I'm going to actually come in here and trim some of it out. Not a lot, but I'm going to take a square out of the corner just to relieve some of the bulkiness. Okay, so we cut a square out. Now this side's going to come around. And then this side comes down. And you'll still have a little bit of bulkiness, but it'll be just right on the corner. You're going to do that all the way around on all the sides. And then just where the leg starts, trim off your excess Dacron so that you'll get a nice clean edge on your fabric. Once you have this done all the way around, Make sure you don't pull it. If you pull it too tightly, you're going to get waves up here, and you just want to make it nice and smooth. That is your goal all the way around. And then we're ready for fabric. So this bench originally had this beautiful green velvet on it, but it faded, it was old, so my client got this from her grandmother, but there is not quite enough to come and cover the end. It falls beautifully over the sides, and so I don't want to cut and make any extra seams there, but I need to create seams on the end in order to fill it in. So the way I'm going to do that is the way I would make a slipcover. We are going to flip this inside out, center it on here to make sure you pull it a little bit that way. Okay. So we have it centered. And the way we're going to do it is take this end piece. Now we want to make sure that it's square and that we have the lines going in the right direction, because the piece was actually cut a little bit crooked to start with. So I want to make sure that the grain of the fabric is perfectly horizontal with the top of the bench. You do not want your end pieces to be crooked. Then you're just going to go along where your seams are, and we are going to pin this into place. Now where we put the pins, when we remove this from the bench and I take it to my sewing machine, I'm going to sew right along where the pins are. So this is literally going to require 2 seams, because I'm going to start, go up and make corners and come back down, and then I'll be able to come out here and fit it on here nicely. It'll just fit right over the top like a glove. Make sure when you're doing the corners that you have the piece without any wrinkles and that the pins meet exactly on the corner where you would want your seam to be. Put more pins than you think is necessary so that you don't get wrinkles and you don't accidentally sew it crookedly. So I'm going to continue doing this for this end, and then I'm going to go do it at the other end, and then I'll pull this off, take it inside, stitch along there, and we will be ready to finish up. So I know I told you that this was my client's grandmother's fabric, and what ended up happening is the age of the fabric made it very delicate. It actually ripped as I was trying to sew it, and I had to take out a seam, and it just destroyed it. So it had literally like 1/8 of an inch of edging that I could have put over the edge and stapled into, and that probably would have ripped when people sat on it. So the whole version where I stitched the ends, I ended up not using at all, because I found out that my client had enough fabric someplace else in her house that we could just wrap the whole bench. So we have gone ahead and done it that way. You can see that I've wrapped these back 3 sides, and I want to show you how I did the front. I always start in the center, and we're just going to staple out from here, and then I will show you what we did on the corners. You can use a manual staple gun, just like we did for the Dacron. It always works on any of these upholstery projects. But I am going to use my air compressor this time, because I can show you how quickly it goes and you can see the whole thing come together. So I'm going to flip that on and we're going to get started. So we're going to start in the middle and then work our way out towards the corners. You want to put a staple in as often as you need to in order to avoid this becoming too wavy. Now, air compressors are a fantastic addition to your DIY toolkit if you don't have one already. They just make everything so much easier, but they are not necessary. They're really for if you're taking it to the next level, serious kind of thing, because they are a big investment. Staple gun for 20 bucks will do the same job. So just like we did with the Dacron where we cut away the extra, we need to do the same with the fabric on the corner. We're not going to cut out a big square because that would compromise the integrity of our fabric. But we don't need all of this stuff to fold down, so I'm going to cut it down about 2 inches here in this direction. Now it would be possible, if you can take the legs off of your bench, you could avoid having to work around them. This is a very old bench and they're kind of deeply set and some of them are stripped, so I'm just choosing to work around them. But if I removed this, you could see how much easier it would be. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to fold this over and work towards the corner. Then I'm going to cut extra away here too. The idea is to figure out where the middle of the corner is, and I'm going to put a pin there, and then I'm going to tuck it like that, but I don't want more than one fold, so I'm going to play with it for a minute till I get one fold like that on each side so that I can put an upholstery tack into that at the end. So let me get my pin and I'll start playing with the corner and you can see how it goes. So now we're just going to tack our upholstery tacks into the corner. I'm using a ruler, actually a square here, to make sure that they're about the same height from the bottom. Basically I want them to be ½ inch in from the bottom edge. So I'm marking that. Now I have used upholstery tacks on furniture that would not accept them, that just bent and bent and bent. So you want to test one on the wood before you do it through fabric. But this one took it just fine. Because if it's not going to work, don't mess up your fabric trying to make it work. And this is just, the whole point of this is just to make these gathers at the corner look a little bit more intentional. Give them a little bit of a decorative flair. Then, once we get these in, you can see in these close-ups of the legs that they're a little bit beat up. Now, you could have fixed that before you started with the fabric, but I knew we were going to be flipping it around and I'm going to maybe have to do this off camera because I'll be blocking your view. Give it one more try. Okay, there we go. Sometimes things that I don't do on camera are because A, I do it in the middle of the night when my lovely cameramen are sleeping, or B, very awkward to do and I'd be blocking the view. Alright, so to clean up the legs, I'm going to use some Danish oil in this case. You want to be very careful not to get this on your fabric because it will stain it. But I'm just going to give them a tiny bit of touch-up. You could also do this with a touch-up pen. Just going to give it a little bit of luster. It's not going to get rid of every nick or ding, but it'll cover them up a little bit and give you a nice glossy piece. So I'm going to let this dry and then we will put this in front of the fireplace for our extra seating and take a look at it.